My action research was undertaken in a Stage 1 Year 1 classroom at Bonnyrigg Heights Public School. The question I created for my action research was how can I effectively use a multimodal approach in my teaching to increase engagement during my mathematics lessons. The aim of my research was to use a multimodal approach in my teaching and integrate engagement from the MEE framework into my mathematics lessons while catering to all students. Students are engaged in lessons when their learning consists of different various modes such as hands-on activities, ICT, worksheets, etc. Bonnyrigg Heights Public School is located in the outer region of Sydney's southwest in Bonnyrigg Heights. This school is a co-ed school from K to 6. Based on student data from the school, there are 1,132 students enrolled into the school for 2019. Based on the same student stats, in 2019, out of the 1,132 students, 23 of them are Indigenous students. Approximately 93% of the students in Bonnyrigg Heights Public School are from families who speak English as a second language. The school has 4 support class units catering for students with certain disabilities. Furthermore, the school is very diverse and tries to cater for those diverse students by providing them with cultural studies and scripture in which they learn about different cultures and about the religion. Lastly, the school has a new arrivals room. This room is for students who just arrived from their country and require that additional support. My PP2 class consisted of 21 students. I had one autistic student in my class. He was very sweet and quiet, but he'd always need something to fidget with and need a visual timetable for the day, as he liked routine. I also had 4 PLASP students in my class. They were on a personalized learning program. Their homework and spelling was different to the rest of the class. The PLASP students were the ones I focused on a lot as they required the extra help. The PLASP program was designed to assist these students in their learning. Overall, my Practicum class was great. My class was highly diverse, so it was interesting to see the way they all learn. One of my questions for my action research was a question developed based on the class needs of particular students. My question was developed based on the needs of all students. Keeping in mind that I had an autistic student and 4 PLASP students, I chose to focus on multimodality. To be specific, I chose to focus on mathematics lessons because students tend to lose interest in maths very quick. On my first day, I spoke to my mentor about this action research and she agreed with using multimodality in maths. Using multimodality in my class met the needs of visual, kinesthetic, and auditory learners. Students were given worksheets, ICT was incorporated, and students made 2D shapes using paddle pop sticks. I also added rotational activities into my maths lessons. This allows students to try different activities all based on the same topic. Being able to use different methods of teaching surely did increase engagement and interaction in my classroom. Through observation, while students were completing tasks, I was able to see a different students shine each time. I learned very quickly that every student responds differently to different activities, so using multimodality really showed the true potential. My focus for this action research was the whole class. I wanted to see my whole class participating and engaged in lessons. I did a lot of rotational activities in my maths lessons to keep students engaged and on task for a longer period of time. Rotational activities included worksheets, games, and hands-on activities such as creating 2D shapes using paddle sticks, creating patterns using concrete material. I believe using rotational activities helped me better manage my time as they were year ones and a lot of them had low attention span, so multimodality helped keep my students engaged. Referring to my focus group question, why did you choose to collect and use this specific data? I collected so much data during my time on my professional experience, but I only chose to focus on the ones that really show multimodality. I chose to use specific student data, such as images and work samples, to portray my success in my action research. Not only does the data show multimodality, but it also portrays student engagement in their learning. To start off my data collection, I had to take some ethical considerations. In order to take photos, I needed permission. The first step was giving the principal a permission slip with my paragraph on my action research. After he approved it, I gave it to my mentor teacher so she can have a read and approve. Then finally, I handed it out to the students. The observational data I collected was the feedback sheet from my mentor. Even though my mentor and me spoke after every lesson, I would go back and have a read through her feedback and reflect on my lesson. This helped me improve and better manage my lessons. I collected work samples throughout. I took photos of students engaging in during maths. I took photos of the different worksheets I created to meet individual student needs. All the images I took during my practicum portrayed how my students engaged in mathematics when different modes of teaching were being used. The conversations I had with students one-to-one I recorded as it helped me later when assessing individual student achievements. Having recorded conversation students was helpful. In the conversation, students' achievement is clear, using different strategies to help students solve problems. The last form of data I collected was student self-assessment. This data really assisted me when planning my lessons. Self-assessment with stage 1 was difficult since they are fairly young, so I researched ways students can be assessed while maintaining engagement. Thumbs up and thumbs down strategy seems to be the most common type of assessment. I also used other forms of assessment to change it up for students. By the use of different modes of teaching and learning. Using multimodality kept students engaged during maths lessons, keeping in mind they were young kids so they had low attention span. Therefore, multimodality helped me combat that issue. Students enjoyed using hands-on materials of ICT and games during their learning. The use of different modes maintained engagement throughout my lessons. Students weren't sitting for long, hence why I chose to do rotational activities, so this helped them move around rather than just sitting in a place. Throughout the block, I observed and reflected on my teaching and students' learning. Reflection assisted me in improving my teaching. I reflected after every lesson, and this just helped me to follow up my lesson better. The data I collected for work samples. Work sample 1 shows students using paddle pop sticks to create 2D shapes. One of my lessons in the mathematics was 2D shapes. Learning about basic shapes is very straightforward, therefore students can lose interest very quickly. I chose to make this lesson engaging for students. I got paddle pop sticks and gave them the opportunity to create their own 2D shapes. Students were able to glue their shapes and keep it. After the lesson, I randomly selected students to talk about their shape, and they had to name the shape and write about how many sides and corners each shape has. Work sample 2 portrays students using counters for subtractions. This lesson was a bit exhausting for students as some did not get the concept and some did. In the work sample, I have a group 1 students working with counters. The use of counters assisted this group of students in answering the questions. Reflecting on my lessons, I can surely say that the use of manipulatives really aided not only group 1 students but also group 2 and group 3 students. During both of the lessons, students definitely did achieve the outcomes in their own ways. Work sample 3 is a follow-up lesson from work sample 1. In this lesson, students use the shapes to create a town. This lesson was very interesting as the creative side of students were coming out. Students created their own version of a town using the shapes. Being able to use different modes improved my teaching and promoted inclusive learning. Students like to learn new things but most importantly, learn it differently. Work sample 4 shows an odd and even lesson. When I initially explained the concept to students, a fair amount of students were confused. When I used odd, Todd, and even Stephen and explained it to students, they were able to grasp it instantly. I treated this lesson like a game since younger students loved that. I told students that they need to organize the numbers, and the ones who does it right wins. Students took their time and really thought when organizing. Overall, I believe this was one of my best lessons as it was very hands-on and the students loved it. All students surely did meet the outcomes for both the lessons by using manipulatives, visuals, and higher order thinking. For example 5 portrays students using computers. My class did not have many iPads or laptops, so when I reached out to my mentor asking if I can do a lesson in the computer lab, she said yes. Students don't get much time on the computer, therefore when they go, they make the most of it. This lesson was about patterns. I thought allowing students to create their own patterns would be the best way to teach it. At first, I opened up Paint on my computer, which was projected. Students followed me step by step. I showed students how to create a pattern and also revised what pattern means. After modeling, I gave students a chance to create their own ICT pattern. As some students created the most unique patterns, I tried to integrate ICT whenever I could. I used the IWB whenever we played games on the iExcel. Work sample 6 shows students naming 2D shapes. I gave all students the opportunity to come to the board and name a 2D shape. My class loves games on the computer, so using iExcel as an introduction really grabbed their attention. All students surely did meet the outcomes of both lessons by successfully creating patterns and using ICT. Self-assessment with year ones was difficult and challenging, but I tried to do what suits them the best. One strategy I used all the time was thumbs up and thumbs down. I would ask students based on the lesson and they would either put their thumbs up or thumbs down. I took photos of students doing this so I can later write who understood and who didn't, then focus on those who needed more attention in class. Student assessment 2 shows students holding up a board with an answer. After a few lessons, I would use an exit slip. This wasn't a typical exit slip as I had students who still couldn't read and interpret, but I really wanted to use an exit slip, so I chose to display questions on the board. I would read the questions one by one and ask students to answer around the board and show it to me. I used this data to grade students accordingly. This is reporting time, so my teacher would ask me for student data. After my lessons for the week, I would reflect on my observation, student work samples, and conversation, and place students accordingly in the criteria. I then handed a copy over to my mentor and kept one for myself. Throughout different forms of assessment, students showed high levels of engagement. SA.4 shows students participating in group discussions at the end of the lesson to reflect on the IWB. SA.5 shows students sharing with the rest of the class what they enjoyed most and found difficult during the lesson. Lessons. She mentioned that I used whiteboards, IWB, concrete materials, pictures, iExcel, and conclusion games. These feedbacks were taken out from different lessons. OD.2 shows my reflection. My reflection on a lesson that I used an interactive maths game on the IWB. Students loved the game and all students participated in the game. Conversation. The conversation between a student and me shows how I use different modes to cater for his needs as well as so he can engage in discussions. This student never spoke because he did not know how to solve questions. Having a conversation with him made me understand that he does understand, but he just requires something hands-on to assist him. Using different modes in mathematics has assisted different types of learners, allowing them to participate in engaging lessons. Question formulated by my group. How did I know my research question was achieved? All the data collected showed how students successfully completed different lessons. My focus was E from the MEE framework, the lowercase e. I believe I have shown and achieved that. If I was continuing my teaching with the same class, I would continue to differentiate like this. Every student is different and they learn differently. In the long term, I believe my class will be showing much different results since they are being exposed to different modes of teaching, yet they are achieving the same outcome as required. Based on the data collected and provided, I believe I have achieved my action research on how can I effectively use the multimodal approach in my teaching to increase engagement during my mathematical lessons. Reference. Above are some of the sources I referred to while undertaking this project. This information further assisted me to successfully complete my research. Appendix 1. This slide contains the concept form given to the principal, teacher, and students. I kept all of the copies of my permission slips with me throughout my practical as part of ethical consideration. Appendix 2. Linking it back to my group's focus question. How did your focus group help throughout? My group and I were in contact during the 4-week block. We spoke and assisted one another. We were able to share our ideas and receive feedback.